This time film Yerushalmi Eruvin. The article owes by addition of Daf Chaf Alf Namav, the second top line. Rabbi Acha of Rabbi Maisha, and that in the Vilna is 13 lines on the bottom of Yud Tes Amr Beis. Rabbi Acha, Rabbi Asha, Rabbi Acha's Amar, Rabbi Maisha boy. Rabbi Maisha asked the final question. Tam Amar, Rabbi Shimon, Chia Brei the Rav. Rabbi Shimon said, name of Chia Brei the Rav. Tam Amar Rabbi Shimon, Chia Brei the Rav Amar. Rabbi Shimon said, and Chia Brei the Rav also said, I guess, Avodah Zarah shasa lechi lamavli. You made Avodah Zarah lechi for your mavli. In the Bible, I think the case is lechi shel Asherah. You made it lechi from an Asherah tree. It's a valid, which is kitute mechtat shurei. It's if it's already burnt, and it's also bana. So you're not allowed to derive any benefit from it. Yet, if you made your lechi out of this Avodah Zarah, mater is a mavi. It permits the mavi. And here we said yesterday that if you made your kikar hekdesh, you're not allowed to make an air with it. So what's the difference? They're both also bano. If it works by one, it should work by the other. If it's mitzvah slav lehedas to do it, therefore it's not a problem of hanoah. So therefore it should work by both, not just by lechi shel hashera. And if it's it's considered to be hanoah, so it should be also by both. Should be also by the avodah zarah shel lechi. So Amar Abel said, "Tamam yikomakom nistam amavi." Then the mavi is closed no matter what. V'achamay here, what are you going to say? As a famous Reb Chaim lechi shel Asherah. Chaim says that the reason why lechi shel Asherah works, even though kitut mechtat shurei, he attacks the issue. Kitut mechtat shurei, it doesn't have a shear of 10 tefachim. Yeah, it works anyway. So the Reb Chaim says that the din of lechi, like any mechitza, is not that it have a shear in and of itself, but that enclose an area which has a shear. In other words, the shear of Rishus HaYachid is not a shear in the mechitza. The shear of Rishus HaYachid is a shear in the Rishus. You have to have a mechitza of 10 fachim, not because the mechitza itself is 10 fachim, but because you have to have an enclosed area of 10 fachim. But the shears in the Rishus and the Rishus is 10 fachim, even if you're using lechi avodah zarah, lechi shel Asherah. So here too, let's see, Yerushalmi seems to be saying that word. Yerushalmi is saying that the area is nistam mikom makom. Right, whether it's osabano, not osabano, whether it's kitut mechad, if it's burnt up, not if it's burnt up. The bottom line is the area is enclosed, so therefore there's not a problem of israno, not a problem with kitut mechad. But by hekdesh, it's taka osabano, and you're supposed to have food, which you can eat, and that's not. It's a din in the food, has to be edible food. So if the hekdesh is osabano for the hediot, you can't have any benefit from it. Again, leaving aside the question which you didn't answer yesterday, why can't you? What about the hoil that you could add? You could be sure on the nether, but then, therefore, that's why it's different, distinct, and it's not effective. Okay, we said marvelly so. You can make an error for a nazi with wine, even though he himself can't drink it. Somebody else can drink it, and of course, it's not like hekdesh, or nobody can derive any benefit from it. Yisrael b'truma, you can make a error for Yisrael for truma. A kohen is suitable to eat it, even though the Yisrael can't eat it. Okay, the kohen beis pras. Now, going back to our Mishnah, in the Mishnah we had learned that like Reb Chaim, like the Bavli, that when it says l'sumchus Yisrael b'truma, sumchus omer b'chulin, and then kama l'kohen beis pras without the word af, but the Yerushalmi seems to have the word af in it, and that's how the next sugya seems to develop. So, according to that, it's Sumcha is not saying b'chulin an Yisrael b'truma, but Sumcha is going on and saying the Sumcha omer b'chulin l'kohen beis pras. You can use chulin for a kohen in a beis pras, meaning in a place you can't take truma there because the truma might become tamei because of the savik truma, but not allowed to do that. But the if you put chulin there for the kohen, he can. It's even a beis pras field which has a savik truma. It's a valid eruv tchumen. So there's the Yerushalmi Kibushu that brings that down from one of the from the Gaonim, that this is a difference in Girsa between Chachmei Bava and Chachmei Eretz Yisrael in this Mishnah. And Chachmei Bavel Taka had the Girsa without the word off. And Chachmei Eretz Yisrael had the Girsa with the word off, and of course to change the meaning of the Mishnah, very much so. So according to this, when the Mishnah is saying that that after we just said you can make an error for Yisrael with Truma, that you can make a error for a Kohen with Chulin and Beis HaPras. Well, it should be Pashut. What's the Yisrael can eat it. What's the Chiddush in Kohen Beis HaPras with a if we just said that with Chulin, we just said you're allowed to make an error for Yisrael for Truma. Why not? Why not Kohen Chulin and Beis HaPras? Big deal. So it says Gemara Masnisin the Beis Shammai. You're right. According to Tanakama, it'd be not a chiddush because you don't have to actually be. Place doesn't have to be accessible. The food doesn't be accessible. But like Beis Shammai, it's a chiddush. Beis Shammai said, you only make an error for people if they have their utensils there. They have some sort of way of living there. So therefore, if that's the case, it could work for a kohen. It's a very big chiddush, right? To say that despite the fact that a kohen can actually get his utensils there, nevertheless, it's considered to be as if it's his mokum tashish because Yisrael could get there, or because he can sit only the rabbanan, he can be over and get he can go to the Beis HaPras and without his deraisa, or perhaps because he can be minapech, it's possible to get there. So, according to Beis Shammai, who holds that you have to have a suitability for tashmish there, not necessarily you have to have the clay tashmish themselves, which Beis Shammai holds you do have to have, but they have to roll the tashmish. So sumchus is coming mechadesh that, according to that opinion, you can that is still considered a Beis HaPras still considered a makom tashmish for the kohen. And Rabbi Huda is coming to say even more. He's saying you don't matter. I feel ben akvaros. He can go in Oel Zork, assuming that's according to the opinion that it works. That then there he can access that place. So Yerushalmi goes on to discuss, say that it's explicitly. Assume because of Beis Shammai. Assume this is like going like Beis Shammai. Assume because of Beis HaPras. Again, it's not necessarily dafkali Beis Shammai. You have to have don't have clay tashim there, but he's trying to explain how it's suitable for access. And so the Gemara says, okay. Me'ata afilu beis hakvaros. Should be if you're saying that's basically you can consider access. The fact that Yisrael can get there, let's say, it's not clear from the Yerushalmi who is exactly we're focusing on. Focus on the Yisrael can get. It seems that we're focusing on the Yisrael can get there. Somebody can get there, so therefore. It should be working in basic verse. Says, well, no, roy lavro shus ulocho, right? By Beis HaPras, it's the rabbanon for the kohen to go in. So therefore, he could add, since it's only this rabbanon, therefore Chazal said, okay, we're the ones who asked him to go in because it's a suffix tuma. We're the ones who say that nevertheless he can, for a purpose of Erev, it considers if he as if he's capable of going in. So I just looked at my notes. I realized that I parsed that sentence wrong. So we know from the Mishnah that is can be over in the Issa Rabbanan. So but he means like this: Me'ata afilu beis hakvaros royal aval shvus lochal. I was saying that because he's allowed to do a shvus of the Issa Rabbanan of going to the Beis HaKvaros and going to the Beis HaPras, he can eat. So and I have an eitzah for Beis HaKvaros too. He can also do a shvus. He can do this. He can go. What he can really because shida teva migdal. He can go in erev Shabbos bein hashmashos in a shida teva migdal. Even though you're not allowed to, I guess it's Sham is assuming that also it's ozark b'shmei oil, or maybe you would put it there before Shabbos begins. I don't know, but in any event, so he can go into the shida teva migdal, plas lechor, pachas mitefach, and make a hole less than tefach on the side of the shida teva migdal in a basic correspondence, and to stick a skewer through the hole. Kisam, kush is like a needle. Kisam is like a piece of wood. And bring the food into his little cubicle there and eat. So the shvus, I guess, is evidently to take the thing from outside his little OL into his little OL over there, from the from the surrounding basic forest Carmelis into his Rishus over there, which is that Shiativ Amigdal. So in any event, so it says the Gemara asks, if you're matir Beis HaPras, because the Isur Rabbanan of Beis HaPras, Chazal said we're going to overlook that, even though we didn't allow coin, we're going to Beis HaPras. We're going to overlook this at this point and say that coin is as if he's suitable to go in. So then, why is someone argue Rabbi Yehuda? Maybe you should even agree with Rabbi Yehuda, and it doesn't even be all Zorok, I guess. After the Achar, we can say that it's talking about that he put it there before Shabbos. And and the issue is how you can't leave the oil. Okay, so this is Rabbanan takes him from outside that oil into inside his oil. So it should be he should be able to also make it Erev in the basic course mamish, not just in the Beis HaPras. Okay, the Yerushalmi does not answer the question. I think it's partially to be machalik. The Yerushalmi probably not concerned to say the Chil Kedarko, but obviously there's certain Shvus in which Rabbanan were makel, certain Shvus in which Rabbanan are not makel, going from one Rishus to another Rishus for Erev, perhaps they were not makel that. But in any event, the Yerushalmi doesn't answer the question, leaves it difficult. But the main point is that the Sumchos and Rabbi Yehuda have this machlekes, whether it's only the Beis HaPras or makel, only even the makel, they can make a Beis HaKvaros. And the Yerushalmi has this difficulty. Why not? According, if the issue, if you're the Isur Rabbanan of going Beis HaPras is negated, so too the Isur Rabbanan. So if I can find a way to make it only Isur Rabbanan for the Kohen Beis HaKvaros, that also should be negated as well. Okay, says the next mission. Locha Beis Ma'arvin with Mai. You make an error with Mai, with my solution Shnit Lo Chuma, so my solution for which the Chumas might have been taken off. Ma'aser Hekti, Ma'aser Sheni Behekti Shniftu, with Ma'aser Sheni Hekti which have been redeemed. Hakwani B'chal of the Chuma, the Kohen can make make their error with Chala and with Chuma. And Pnei Moshe points out who had in Yisrael. Katana Kamen, the Masis in the El, the Hilchos Kavasei. We said already, you can use Chala Chuma, we said it a few minutes ago, use Chala Chuma for Yisrael. But normally it's the Kohen who has it, so it's Lav Dafka, only a Kohen. Avalo B'Tevel, but now with Tevel, now it's something which is untithed. V'lo Ma'aser Rishon Lo Nidal Chumas, and Ma'aser Rishon which Chumas Ma'aser has not been taken off. V'lo B'Chuma Ma'aser Sheni Behektish Lo Niftu, nor Ma'aser Sheni Hektish which has not been redeemed. Hasheres Erev B'Yad Cheresh Shokatan, if you send your Erev Tchumen in the hands of a Cheresh Shoita Katan, or B'Yad Mishena Moed B'Erev, in the hands of somebody who doesn't accept the halacha of Erev Tchumen, and Erev, it's not considered to be a valid Erev. They have to activate your Erev view, or they can't activate it either because they're not B'nai Das or not Erevim, not B'nai Erev. V'im Omar, if you told somebody, yeah, I'm sending it with this person, but you are not a Cheresh Shoita and you are Moed B'Erev, so then that is considered to be a valid Erev. It's interesting to me, Moshe. Mama Echad Shukasha Kabin Menu Mizeh HaPosov Shulchan Sova Bayin Tege and 2,000 Amos raise the Eruv. That's an Eruv. Uvad She'oimim Mirochok. As long as the Ba'abayis, the person plans to travel, stands a distance. If you actually say Apostle here, it's a kosher, and he sees that the apostle reaches the kosher. Shama Lolo Eretz Eruv, to whom he said to take the Eruv. I feel in the sun al Kofal appeal. Because even you put it on a monkey or on an elephant, lolichol kosher, to take it to the kosher person, who's going to take it to the end of the chum. And he says, look, sees that it's happening. Raise Erev, it's about Erev. The apostle Katan, the Katan apostle who be'eruv, dafka Erev tchum, it's by Erev tchum, that's mchu akroi, which comes from the psukim. The tchum is the ikar d'oraisa. But Chazar make a leave, and cotton can collect the Eruv and affect the Eruv for everybody else, as we shall see. Rabbi Yaakov asked, Masis Loka Beis Shammai. Our mission doesn't see the Beis Shammai. Because the Tania we learned, by Perak Lulav Agazo, Be'esru Shal Demai, Beishamai Poisel says, well, you can't use an Esrog revive. Who would mean Hacha Be'eruv? You say something here? Dima Be'eruv Din Rabbanon, or perhaps that's by Esrog's the Raisa. But perhaps Eruv the Rabbanon, Beishamai Modin Bar with Mai. In Beishamai concedes you can be Marv with Mai. But we do have a mission in Shel Mai, Beishamai Poisel, Beisil Machshirin. Shel Mai Sheni B'Yushalayim. Also, that's by Esrog. This whole halach is by Esrog. The Masheni B'Yushalayim lo yitol im not kosher. They shouldn't take Ma'aser Sheni Esrog because it's Hefsed and Ma'aser Sheni. There's a whole discussion there whether it's Mammon Gavah, Mammon Hekdesh, but in any Mammon Ediot. But in any event, they're not supposed to take it. Not kosher. If you did take it, it's kosher. Okay, the Gemara doesn't answer the question. Rabbi Chia Rabbah. Actually, I made a mistake. The Gemara is going to go back and answer the question of Rabbi Yaakov Durumia. Not yet. This is a parenthetical remark here. So the Rav Sheshem Rabbah said, Tevel Sheish Lev Tanai. You have a Tevel which has a Tanai in it. And there's a long Pnei Moshe here, which clarifies. This really has to do with the 7 parak. You had figs of tevel. They weren't tight. And you're in the base medrash in the field. You don't have time to fix them for every Shabbos, Myre. It's on every Shabbos. You say the 2 figs are going to take off. In other words, you have 100 figs, you take off 2 shum, etc. I explained there, the maskona dina you have to actually separate them the next day before you eat. But since you made the Tanai and you kara shame from Erev Shabbos, with Arvish Shabbos, you're allowed to separate them Shabbos bein my bein vadai It's not just my, it's even vadai in that case over there. Shavadei tevel shuso, where the vadei tevel's in your shus, so you could have done it on Erev Shabbos. And concerning that, it says there the Shmamina that from this Yidus Meha the Tevel Shmamina Meha Tevel Sheish Lev Tanai Mutza Tatlo b'Shabbos. The Tevel which you have a stipulation you're allowed to carry it on Shabbos. Because obviously the next day you mafresh. Sheikh Shemafresh Lemachar Metatlo, so about the Tevel. The next day we're taking off, you're going to be mafresh when it's still Tevel. Mishum Shekvar no Erev Shabbos, Kor Hashem with the Tatlo, because you're already designated for Erev Shabbos. And with Kor Hashem, you're allowed to carry it the next day. So that's, it says, Ketzero Ose, no se Erev Mitzvah, of Ochas Hashar. So that's pretty much that. Ketzero Ose Tevel Shel Tnai, no se Erev Mitzvah, of Masha Mar Hafrish Lemachar, you take it, but afterwards, I guess you put it down, and then you say that, okay, that's going to be my truma, and I'm going to eat the rest, truma and meiser, and then eat the rest of it. Again, it's a kind of parenthetical remark, but it teaches us that there's a way to use tevel for Erev Tchumen as well, if you made this tnai on it. But now we get back to the previous issue. Tani, we learned, okay, we can't use Ma'aser Sheni B'Yushalayim to make an Eruv. It's only by Eruv Cheretzeres you can't use it. But by Eruv Tchumen. Actually, before we go on to that, so let's by this over here, time so the assumption is if you can't use Ma'aser Sheni, so also you can't use Demai. The Korban Eidah takes out the word Ein. And it says Beishamrim Ma'arvim Ma'aser Sheni B'Yushalayim. Therefore, you also be able to use Demai as well. But the Pnei Moshe and the Reb Chaim, they leave in the Girsa Ein Ma'arvin. Okay, so it can go either way. But in any event, so the and that Amar Yirmiyah Hadadat Amar b'Erev Chatzeros. He says that which you can't use, that which you can't use, going with the Pnei Moshe Girsa, Ma'aser Sheni Yerushalmi is by Erev Chatzeros. The Erev Tchumen, But Erev Tchumen is different. I have to come to the next gears in a minute. I want to take one more point again here, which is what's the difference between Erev Chatzeros and Erev Tchumen? So Erev Chatzeros, evidently, even Yerushalmi Kipshuta suggests is a problem because it's like Mischar. It's like doing Mischar with Ma'aser Sheni, not allowed to do Mischar with Ma'aser Sheni. So therefore, this Shita, Beis Shammai, we don't pass like that, but this Shita Beis Shammai you can't use Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim. It's Daimel Mischar. But Erev Tchumen, even Beis Shammai would hold that you're allowed to do it, and therefore also the Ma'aser would be permitted as well. So now, the fascinating girsa in the Leiden manuscript, which Yerushalmi brings down here, which is even you don't have the girsa, this is what the pshat in the Gemara, but it's worth knowing the girsa. It says bikartani, not tani, but bikartani. Kartani was somebody who comes from the Kiryot, somebody who comes from the towns outside Yerushalayim. I wonder if the article actually brings down this girsa. Let's see. He does. It's in the article in the Gemara itself. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so the Bekartani, what do you know? So Bekartani, and the village just says Tani, and the Chaim leaves it Tani. So Bekartani, we're talking about a person who lives outside Yerushalayim. Bekartani, Shenasan, Eruva Yerushalayim, Sheyochel Os Ochel Sham. He put his Erev Tchumen in Yerushalayim because obviously somebody lives in Yerushalayim is not putting it down Erev Tchumen in Yerushalayim. So it's talking about a person who put his who was in Yerushalayim and he wanted to go to Yerushalayim, so he put his Erev Tchumen in Yerushalayim. So since he can go and eat it there, so therefore it's about Erev. So Erev Tchumen is good even according to Beis Shammai. So therefore also D'mai. It's also good according to Beis Shammai. Okay, back to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said a cotton can't make Erev Tchumen. Shmuel Amar kiben teisha kiben eser. If he's 9 or 10 years old, then Erev is valid Erev because as the says cotton should ben teisha ben eser shalosh bichlal onos puutos. He's included in the Chazal's definition of putos shemikcha mekachim and kar menkar metaltlin hilchei eruv erev. They can make kinyonim. They're going to be rabbanon. So therefore, for the rabbanon erev tchumen also they can make the kinyonim. Rabbi Yisrael so the time erev tchumen. The whole problem is by erev tchumen, the kind of the erev of erev tchumen. Erev chatzeros, but as we mentioned a few minutes ago, erev chatzeros, as the Pnei Moshe puts it, Korban Eda puts it, erev chatzeros the ruah shusayu ba'almahu. It's just to mix the rishus together to make them one. It's not really a Maisa Kinyan. Then I feel even can collect the Eruvin. He can't be Mazaka. That would be a separate issue. But to collect the Eruvin, we're not being Mazaka them. It's just collect the bread and put it in a certain place that the cotton can do as well. Rabbi Yeshua said, this and it says the why do we have the concept of Erev Chatzeros? And this Yerushalmi is not replicating the Bavli. I once heard an article based on this Yerushalmi that's saying this is the base of Erev Chatzeros. If it's there was all this discussion what the parameters of Erev Chatzeros are. Not for now, but in any event, this is the basic. Yerushalmi was saying the basic kind of Erev Chatzeros. What's the point of it? He would say, Shlomo HaMelech, like Bavli says, was Misakin Erev Chatzeros. There was a point. What's the issue? What was the what's the tachlis of it? So it's Bnei Darkei Shalom. So I want to bring peace about, and the Gemara brings an example. What's the Darkei Shalom? How Darkei Shalom come about to Erev? Ma'aser b'isha achas. There's a ma'aser with a woman. I don't know if this case was the time of Shlomo HaMelech, but in any event, it's a story which happened, which demonstrates the Darkei Shalom involved. Ma'aser b'isha achas said devuva chaverta. So the Pnei Moshe says senua lechaverta. They didn't get along with each other. I guess the vuva they used to gossip about each other. V'sholcha eruva gabe bra. So let's see Pnei Moshe here. Senua lechaverta sholcha eruva aidei b'na And this neighbor took the Eruv from the child, of the woman with whom she was getting along, and she hugged her. And he came back and he told his mother. She said, Kokach hi li. She's so beloved me that she hugs my son. V'lo yadati. I didn't know. Tokach osu shalom. And as a result, they made peace. I was be inside now. She sent there by her son. The naste, he held her. She held him. And hugged him. Nashakte and kissed him. So he went back and told his mother. She loved me so much. I didn't know. As a result, they made peace among themselves. So this is an Eruv is to make peace, to instill harmony among neighbors. This idea of Eruv Chatzeros, where everybody collects together, and through the act of even collecting Eruv Chatzeros, so there's a child, you had this idea of the Darkei Shalom being restored in the neighborhood. Okay, so now we get to the point which Moshe made in the Mishnah. You have to stand with him. In other words, you have to make sure that he gets to the right place and that other person takes from him. Somebody says to his friend, Hare ani maser ayodcha. I want you to do my meiser for me. My meiser is going to take place through you. He doesn't have to stand with him and watch to make sure he doesn't. Well, here he does have to watch him. Well, there it's about you can make a shliach. Your shliach was a gadol. You can rely on him. Here you can't rely on him. As you have to look. The Rabbi Acha b'Shem Rechis Afiyu Tema Kama Gadol. You can even say it's both about the both goods are gadol. Or maybe puts in the word kan kama kotan, both by kotan. Tamon. There he's saying that I'm meistering through you. In other words, the Korban says so the shliach took the initiative. So you can rely on him because he said, I'm going to do it for you. From here, who says the Mishalech says, you make the error for me, and therefore you have to watch him. Same motion is obviously Bakar and it's Slav Dafka that not telling the but saying there's an additional step which has to be taken, which is he has to make sure that that other person has to do it in that place. So because the Katan can't take the initiative, the tip. So also, but even if it was a gadol, it depends if he's saying the shaliach is saying I'm going to do it for you, and the shaliach is saying take you go make sure it gets done over there. So if the shaliach was doing it himself. I assume perhaps he has to verbalize it. He says, I'm doing it for you. So then, whether he takes initiative or not probably doesn't make the difference. He says, I'm going to make air for you. That's okay. But here where somebody else has to complete the process, so you can't rely on the shliach. You have to make sure that it gets done. So by seeing that, staying at a distance. So the next line, where it says, Hadi Alpha mean Hada, Vahi Alpha mean Hada. Each case learns from the other case. So the Pnei Moshe changed the next gearsa in the Gemara because the way it's written by us, it's an identical case. So he changed it like this. Hada Alpha mean He, Bo'emer lo ani mareva yodecha. If I say, if the shliach takes the initiative and says, I'm going to make the air for you, Shein tzarech la'amonimo. You don't have to stand with him. Vahi Yafa mina Hada, and the case of Trumas learns in our case, Bo'emer lo aser al yodi. He says, Meiser through me. In other words, you told him Again, either means he remains silent, doesn't say anything, or you tell him that go take it to so and so. I think more likely, and so it's connections parallel to our Mishnah. To take it to so and he's going to mice it for me. So then, mo, you have to stand with him. In other words, you have to make sure, follow through, and make sure it gets done. The Marapanim says the Yerushalmi here does not hold chazak shlichuso. Even if it said the shliach make sure it gets done by a third party, the shliach would actually make sure to get it done. Okay, so I went a bit long today, but it was worth getting to the next mission and finishing the discussion of the sugya. And we'll stop here, of course, for today.